Hello, hello, hello. Welcome back to the podcast. This is Wiretap, and you're here with me, Tyler Spencer. As you can tell, it looks maybe a little bit different today. You're probably looking at this thinking, well, some of you might be just listening, but the ones who are watching this are probably looking and going, something is different here. What is it? What's different about this? Well, I have to record at my parents' house. I didn't record an episode this past week. It is currently Saturday. I got to upload tomorrow morning, so I am recording this here. I brought all of my recording stuff, including the lamp, because I have to stick with this lighting. I've asked several people, by the way, what they think, and some of it like it, some of them don't. But yeah. Sticking with it. I think it's, looking at it right now on the camera, I think it's fine. I don't think it's too distracting. Let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. I'm still iffy on it, but at the end of the day, I think this lighting is better than my just the lighting of a room. It's so hard to find decent lighting, and I'm not saying this is even decent, but it's better than the alternative. So we are sticking with it for now. Maybe eventually, actually, I was looking into doing this podcast with one of my friends before. Oh God, I'm going to sneeze. Hold on. Oh God. Anyway, I was looking into doing this podcast before with one of my friends. This was like years ago when I had the idea for Wiretap, and I had added all of this equipment to my Amazon shopping cart, some of which included lighting stands. It was God, I'm gonna sneeze again. I'll keep talking until I sneeze, if I sneeze. It was like these LED lights, and it was a box thing. It wasn't like any kind of professional lighting, but it was specifically made for small podcast studios. And you just set up these stands that are like 6 feet high with these box LED lights, and you could like change the colors of them, and it looked sick. I wouldn't do this lighting if I had those. I would just do standard, like natural lighting, but maybe I'll invest in those at some point. Hey, maybe that'll be like a new year in the next season. Currently we're in season 1. By the way, I feel like I should lay this out too, as if it matters. 2022 is season 1 of the podcast, right? And you have each episode, but I figured when we get to 2023, we'll switch to season 2, and it'll just go on like that for however long I do the podcast. Seasons are the years. That doesn't really matter, but I thought it sounded cool, so we'll just do that. Anyway, just, I figured there is a main topic to these podcasts, but I'm going to start out by just, talking about stuff that's been on my mind this past week. I got some tea here. Oh, that's some good tea. I think it's like a month expired though, but it still tastes fine. And that sounds disgusting, by the way, but it said sell by this like a month ago date. I think it's still fine to drink. It tastes fine. Anyway, we're just gonna start out by doing a little bit of stuff that's been on my mind. Then we'll get to the main topic. As you've probably seen in the title of this episode, what would you do if you won the lottery, right? We'll get to that in a minute. But last week I watched back. So yeah, it was kind of confusing actually. Last week's episode was from 2 weeks ago, and 2 weeks ago's episode was from last week. Recorded in that order, at least. And I don't even know if I said that right. I kind of explained this in the Halloween episode, the spooky, scary episode, but I wanted to do a Halloween episode, so I just flip-flopped. So some of the things in the last episode might have been outdated. I did call it episode 4, but it was actually episode 5. Just some minor things like that. Hopefully that wasn't too confusing. I don't know if anybody even really noticed, but I was watching last week's episode, the one after the Halloween episode, and I cringed so hard. I am so bad at talking. I'm just so bad at speaking in general. And that's another reason I wanted to start this podcast. I'm so bad at talking. I am not a sociable person, so I don't get a lot of talking experience to people. I mean, when I am social, I really enjoy just sitting back and listening to people, so I don't talk much anyway. So I figured if I have a podcast where I'm talking all the time, I'm getting a bunch of talking experience. I can watch it back and figure out what I was doing wrong, figure out some stuff I can maybe change to speak a little more clearly, concisely, make my speaking a little more entertaining. I feel like I am such a boring talker, and I'm so self-conscious about this too. I will hold back in social situations a lot because I think, okay, am I monotone? I feel people used to call me monotone in like middle school and high school, and that's just kind of stuck with me. And maybe it has something to do with shyness, but I'm trying to be a better speaker, make the way I talk more entertaining. I've read that when you talk, you kind of have to, change your timbre a little bit. I don't know. I don't even know what I'm saying right now. It's got to be kind of like you're singing. You can't just, hello, my name is Tyler Spencer. You got to be like, hey, my name is Tyler Spencer, right? That's a lot more entertaining. I'm just talking out of my ass right now. But I hope this makes some sort of sense. So anyway, hopefully as these go on, these episodes, they will get more and more bearable because I'm getting better at speaking. Hopefully that happens. Let's see. I have a Google Doc here where I just, throughout the week, I'll just pop in here, write down any ideas I have. If I'm just like sitting in a class or something, and I think I just get deep in thought about something. Like nothing really too crazy a lot of the times, but I'll be like, that's something I could maybe touch on the podcast. For instance, I was going to say something, but I'll hold back until later. When I was, this past week at work, and I work at the school here. This woman I work for told me this week that I must be the most laid-back person she's ever met, okay? And at first I just thought of that as funny, like, I just went, haha, well, that's a good thing, I guess. All right, I'll see you later, Didn't think much of it. This is kind of what I mean by, like, I'll just be sitting in class and thinking about stuff like this. I went to a class after that, and for some reason my mind just wandered back to there, and I was thinking about it, and I was like, you know what? That isn't really a good thing, I don't think. I don't think she meant it in a bad way at all. But I think, personally, reflecting on that and reflecting on my upbringing in my life, I don't think that's something I like about myself. Okay? Let me explain. Growing up, not to say I had a bunch of hardships, I think relatively to many other people in this country, in the United States of America, and especially in the world, I had a really privileged and great childhood and upbringing. But that isn't saying much, right? Because I think, everyone has some kind of trauma that they go through and that affects them for the rest of their lives. That's a really common thing, which is unfortunate, but true. And I'm no exception to that. I think that a lot of the father figures in my life were and are mentally ill and did not do a fantastic job of raising me or treating me as a child due to those mental illnesses. Trying to choose my words very wisely here. So, in saying that, I think I have a bunch of issues myself that I'm trying to work through. One of which being repressing most of my emotions, especially negative emotions. Okay, so if I was upset with someone, I would, I'd no matter how frustrated I get, I'd never really express that unless you're very close to me. And maybe this isn't that uncommon. People put on a mask all the time, anytime they're in public. But I just want to think that mine is to a very unhealthy extent. In order to keep the peace in my home with my family as a child, and still I felt the need and feel the need to. You can't just go if someone tells you or asks you to do something, you can't just say, okay, and then go do it. You have to be, okay, have a positive spin to it, because if it's interpreted one other way, God forbid, because then it turns into a whole fucking thing. And something so small gets blown way out of proportion, right? And I didn't think that kind of stuff still affected me until this this woman I work for told me that I'm the most laid back person she's ever met, because she will assign me work and I'll go, okay, yeah, sounds good. Just being nice. But when she told me I was the most laid back, I realized, maybe this isn't, the way I'm reacting isn't normal. Maybe I'm doing it maybe I'm being way too nice, overly nice, because of my upbringing. So, yeah, I could be looking way too deeply into this, which I tend to do a lot of, but I wrote here, she views me as very relaxed, but really that's kind of just a facade. I'm really extremely stressed a lot of the time, and she'll tell me to do stuff, and I already have way too much stuff to do, but I can't explicitly say that, even though I probably should. I'll be super busy with a ton of other school stuff, and she'll assign me more things to do, and I'll be like, okay, sounds good. Yeah, I'll get it done. And yeah, maybe a bunch of other people wouldn't do that kind of thing. And that's to a fault. I feel like I'm just kind of going in circles here. I'm sorry. But anyway, that's just what I was thinking. Something to ponder and think about. Maybe I should try being a little less nice. I don't know if that's a good thing to do, though. I feel so much guilt anytime I even think I slightly was not the nicest I could have been to someone. And that's a problem as well. But, this is something that I don't know. I'm going to have to think about this a lot more, I think, to actually come to a real conclusion and possible solution to what I can do. And I'm already 10 minutes into the podcast. So this one might be a long one. We need to move on, because to get to the title of the episode, this could be the most boring episode to somebody or the most entertaining episode to somebody else. I think that could be said for any episode. What am I saying? We're going to get to the title here. What would you do if you won the lottery? We just had the biggest lottery winner ever. I almost just said watery winner. But we just had the biggest lottery winner, I guess I should say, in the United States ever in history. Which is weird because I feel like that has happened like twice this year and several other times. I think that's happened 5 times since 2015. I think I read that somewhere. But it was just at a world record, or why am I saying world record? It was just at a record high of 2.04 billion. Dude, what? I looked up some information on this. The pre-tax lump sum payment for the winner, it was this past Tuesday, would have been $997.6 million. Dude. So I think there's 2 different things you can do if you win the lottery. You can choose to get just straight up paid immediately, or you can get paid slowly over like 30 years. And you get more money if you do. I think you get the, I was going to say, I think you get the full amount, but I don't think you get the full amount. I think you get more money doing the 30-year plan, but you got to wait 30 years. So I think if you get the lump sum, a lot of people say go for the lump sum because you can multiply that money within those 30 years and make more than you would get if you just took that payment plan, right? So personally, if I had won, I didn't even buy a ticket, so I mean, there wasn't even a chance, but if I had won, that's what we're going to be talking about today. And leave in the comments down below what you would do if you won. But if I had won, I would obviously take the lump sum. That's just because I have a lot of things that I would like to do with it, and I think I could possibly multiply it. Also, it's such a ripoff that you win $2 billion and the government gets over half of that. Dude, really? It almost makes it okay. I mean, I know that's still a ton of money. You're still getting like $1 billion, but dude, I won $2 billion. How come I'm not getting closer to $2 billion? I'm only getting $1 billion, and you're getting $1 billion for what? Taxes, I guess. But dude, it's not like I am a billionaire now or millionaire now, but I wasn't until I won this. You know, I don't know. I guess it kind of makes sense. But so what would I do if I won $997.6 million? Because I would take the lump sum. Well, I made a list, and I don't know why. I think this is a human instinct kind of thing. Because the last record-breaking lottery prize, it was not even that long ago. It was earlier this year, I'm pretty sure. And my dad gave me money to buy a couple tickets. Didn't win, obviously. But I remember I couldn't stop thinking about it at the time. And I was like acknowledging this, that my mind kept going back to, wow, what am I going to do when I win? I was thinking I was going to win. I just couldn't get it out of my mind. And I was like, what am I going to do when I win? And when I was buying the ticket, everybody in front of me in line was saying, they were talking like they were going to be the winner. So there was a lady in front of me saying, yeah, my sister gave me this money, and you know what? Or no, actually, wait. What was she saying? There's some dispute with who was actually buying the ticket. I think like she gave her the money to buy the ticket, and she was like, but if I win with this ticket, I bought it. This money is mine. And she kept going on and on and on, talking about how she was going to win and keep all the money for herself. And I was just like, you most likely will not win. I most likely will not win, but you're talking like you're going to win, and I'm thinking like I'm going to win. Why is that? That is such a humanistic thing. This is why people play the lottery, right? And that's just weird to me. Because even while I was acknowledging it in my mind, saying, I'm not going to win this, obviously, the odds are so against me, and there's basically no chance that I'm going to win, my mind would still wander back to, so what am I going to do when I win? And yeah, it's just so crazy that happens. I guess it's just fun to think about what you would be able to do with no limitations, right? And money, I feel like, is almost everybody's biggest limitation in life to what they want to do, what they actually want to do. And that's actually a sad thing to admit, but I think it's kind of true. So anyway, moving on. So what would I do if I won? Well, first things first, let me skip down a little bit because I just wrote like stream of consciousness what I would do if I won. The very first thing I would do is give my friends and family equal portions to do whatever they want with it. Oh, and by the way, I saved a photo of what I think it was $1 billion looks like. I hardly ever edit anything into the videos of this. I like to keep it as simple as possible. But I'm going to edit it in. I'm going to put it right here, right over my face on the screen right now. This is what $1 billion looks like. And also in the photos compared to $1 million. How crazy is that, dude? Those are $100 bills, I think. But dude, $1 million looks so small, and then you have $1 billion. Oh my God, dude! I was just thinking about that the other day. Thinking about you could just put that in a room in your house and do whatever you want forever. And that is what got me rolling on this idea, is thinking, what would I do if I could do whatever I want? So anyway, just keep that image in mind. Okay. So those pallets of money there in that photo, each pallet is $100 million. Okay. Because there's 10 pallets, so each one's 100 million. Add those up together, you get $1 billion, right? So, a bunch of that just one of those pallets would go to me giving it away. So I would want to give my friends and family equal portions to do whatever they want with it. Originally, I was thinking, okay, I want to give them each $1 million and say, start a business, start something you're passionate about, and multiply this money and do something good for the world with it. But then I was thinking, I don't want to put that kind of pressure on the people I love. So I think I would maybe encourage that, but at the end of the day, I'd say, you know what? Do whatever you want with this. If you want to just buy a house, because you could easily live off of if you could easily live off of $1 million for a really long time, possibly ever. And if you want to just buy a house and live off this money, throw it in the bank, invest it, and then just live off that forever, go for it. I still want to keep you in my life and see you all the time. Hopefully this doesn't change that, but I'm giving you this money, no strings attached. Be happy. Do whatever you want. But I would hope that some of my friends and family would use that money to start something great and beneficial to the world. Like, I have friends that I hope would take that money and like do like a film, like a movie business with it, or create a huge project with it. I don't know. Invest it and then make something with that money. Start some kind of nonprofit. I don't know. Just at the end of the day, just do whatever you want with it. I'm getting too caught up in this. Next, the small town I grew up in, Thomasville, North Carolina. I would want to start, and I hope this isn't insensitive or like stupid of me to do, but I just want to help the town I grew up in. I would want to start like a type of rehabilitation center, not for people addicted to things explicitly, but for the homeless people or people in poverty in my hometown city. What am I saying? Hometown or city? Thomasville. But basically this program, I haven't fleshed it out. I don't have this money anyway, so this will never happen. But I just had the idea for like a rehabilitation center that gives people in poverty or homeless people a home, teaches them how to succeed, provides them with a clear path to success, and eventually lets them out on their own. Also, if they have some kind of mental illness, it would help them get a hold of that so that they can gain control of their life again. I would just want to fund an organization specifically directed towards getting people off the streets, getting them on their feet, and putting them back into a place where they can succeed. I feel like there are a lot of people that need help in Thomasville like that, and especially worldwide. I would want it to expand eventually beyond Thomasville, but I think like a trial run to see if it would even work, I think would be really beneficial in Thomasville. Who knows if it would work, but I would have all this money to do whatever I want. So I want to do that. I want to help people. Can you blame me for doing that? Another thing I'd want to do, I should save that. Okay. I need to go in the order of the things I'm going to do immediately and then things I want to do later on. So I think I would want to start that rehabilitation thing pretty quickly. Another thing I would want to do almost immediately is go on tour with Melodramatic, my band. I don't know why I fantasize about the idea of being grimy and dirty and playing the same songs every night and just getting sweaty with a group of people. But it sounds so fucking fun to just be in front of people who are having fun and sharing their energy with you. And I just also love the idea of meeting people after the show who it's so hard for me to meet new people, I feel like. But if we have this common understood thing where it's like you're here for entertainment and I'm here to provide that, we already have a common bond. We already have a reason to talk to each other. So I would be so excited to talk to people after the show and just hang out with new people every night. That sounds so fun to me. And if I had the money to just go out there and do this stuff, I would do it in a heartbeat. And that is one of the first things I would do, is just even if I'm not playing to anybody, even if I'm just playing with other bands that are nobodies just like me, that would just be so fun. I don't know. But I would immediately do that. And beyond that, kind of in the same vein, I would start a recording studio. Maybe even a record label, okay? I'm so hesitant to call it a label. This is my main biggest idea. I think this is where most of the money would go to as an investment to hopefully make this money back in the long run. And I could sound like such a dumbass talking about this, but this is my dream. If I had all this money to do whatever I want with, this is what I would try to do. Okay. I'm really passionate about this, so I'm actually kind of nervous to even say it, but it has to do with starting a recording studio company. And I want to call it a label, but see, I don't want to do the traditional music thing where like the label kind of exploits artists. I just want to help musicians out. So maybe it is a label, but we give artists a lot of freedom. More freedom than anybody will ever give musicians. So okay, here we go. This is my main idea I have on here that I'd want to do with the money. So, take care of my family, try to help people out on the side, then here my main passion. So I would start small recording studios across the country, primarily in large cities. I provided a list of cities. Okay, yes. So, okay, the end result of this idea would be recording studios in every state, right, across the country. And it's a place you can go to record your music with high quality production, with high quality music engineers. Anybody can go to it. It's cheap and it's hold on, sorry, I'm losing my place on the dock here. I don't even know why I'm referring to the dock. This is just, it's so out of order. But my goal would be to have one of these recording studios with, it does cost money to record there, but it is much cheaper than any other recording studio. And you get access to this like fantastic quality equipment for a very low price. They're so widespread that you can reach one within an hour's drive from anywhere in the country. So each state will have one within an hour's drive from its borders. Let me say that. Excluding really remote countries, I think. Or states. But see, okay, this is a wrinkle I'd have to iron out. A place like Montana, where there's like nobody. Sorry to all the Montana people out there. But am I really going to have a recording studio opened up in the middle of nowhere just to say you can access it from wherever, an hour's drive? Maybe in places like Montana with like lower population density, I would just have one near a major city or in a major city. That's something that could be wrinkled out with time, though. But anyway, that's the goal, to get it so widespread that anybody can access it. Even people in these remote areas in Montana, I would want them to be able to create music with high quality production at a low cost. I have an idea for the phases that this company, I would like for it to go through. Okay. That end result is going to take a while to get to. You can't just start up all of these recording studios across the country and expect it to succeed. You got to slowly build up to that. So what I would do is I would create a main recording headquarters hub in California. I don't have a specific location picked out, but I would like for it to be really scenic. I already have an idea for what the building would look like. So it would be a pretty big building, and it would be horseshoe shaped. Okay, I'm trying to say this in a way that is easy to visualize. So this big building is horseshoe shaped, and in the center of that horseshoe is a courtyard that is a performing arts center. And looking out from the horseshoe, like if you're in the horseshoe looking on the open end where you can see out, I want it to be very scenic and inspiring to look at, like a very natural. Sorry, the chair is super loud. I want it to be a very natural landscape to look at, very beautiful, like some kind of mountain range possibly, or the ocean. Maybe it could be in California on the coast, overlooking the ocean there with some sheer cliffs or something like that. But I want it to be really beautiful, okay? Because a lot of aspects of this, I'll touch on this a little more later too. I want it to be really inspiring, to inspire music. So if you're recording in the studio, you can go out and you can look at all this and just feel good, and it'll hopefully inspire you to get back in the studio and create something great. So, okay. Let me back up a little bit. I'll get more into the specifics of this building in a minute, but oh God, sorry. The cord was making this weird noise on the chair. God, okay, I gotta get through this. We're already like 30 minutes in or so. Okay. Let me start with, let's assume the building is built. Once it gets built, I would make my presence very well known as well, that about what I'm doing. I would try to market this heavily as the building is being built. But I would want to try my best to get in contact with 20 or so musicians, more or less, most of which are super popular right now. So maybe like Clairo, Billie Eilish, Tyler the Creator, Mac DeMarco, Steve Lacy, The Strokes, yada yada. But get in contact with them, and as well as some that are maybe out of the mainstream but are still legendary, like The Killers. You don't really hear much from them anymore. I feel like it's kind of past their prime. Damon Albarn from the Gorillaz, Carly Rae Jepsen, Foster the People. Are they? I don't hear from these people much anymore, but they're still legendary artists. I'd get in contact with them and tell them, okay, I want to do your next album and have it recorded in my studio and film a documentary on like your album and just the culmination of all of these albums being recorded here, and just give them everything they need, whatever they want, and leave them alone and say, do whatever you want, take however long you want, just make an album or make a double album, make whatever you want here, okay? I just want to see you create something. Additionally to this, I'd recruit like 5 or so smaller bands, so bands that aren't really that popular at all, but I still believe in them, and it could be any smaller band. It could be a band with like 100 followers on Instagram or something, some band that has a lot of potential, but maybe would never see that potential because nobody believes in them and is neglecting them. So maybe okay, and the idea is maybe hopefully there would be some kind of a collaboration between these big artists and smaller artists and super small artists. Obviously they can do whatever they want, but they will all be in this main recording center hub. So I would hope that there would be some kind of collaboration there. That would be so cool to see, but obviously not forced. But yeah, just throwing that out there. Um, but yeah, that would be so sick. Letting their artistic side completely express itself, doing whatever they want. And hopefully that wouldn't be a detriment. Sometimes, psychologically, when you have a lot of options, you end up not choosing. I forget the word for this, but you end up not even choosing anything. Whereas if you had only like 3 options, you could easily make a decision. So hopefully that wouldn't hinder their artistic side and end up with a poor result. But I don't know. I feel like a lot of musicians don't really get to do whatever they want. There's some kind of limitation, But for this, I would want just no restrictions whatsoever. You do literally whatever you want. So let me get into the aspects of the building here. Horseshoe shaped. The opening of the horseshoe is facing something gorgeous, something naturally gorgeous. And I want this recording company hub. I want it to be really futuristic looking, really modern. Okay, not futuristic, but it would have. Okay. It would look almost like a virus. I want it. When you see, I think you'll see COVID, maybe not a virus, but you'll see like a picture of COVID up close, and it's got those just little nodules, little pods coming off it. I want it to kind of look like that, going outward off the horseshoe. Little pods that you record in. They're each their own recording studio. You go down, you can walk through the horseshoe, and there's doors on each side going to each recording studio. And each artist will have their own recording studio. They can have whatever they want there. They can have it look however they want. They can make it theirs. All right. So, horseshoe with pods jutting off of it. You can access the courtyard. That's also there's a stage out there to perform to. I want it to also be a venue. This whole facility, so it's like a venue / recording center. Yes, okay. It's I want it to be a major venue too. So obviously you can't record in these studios and have live music playing there, but when the recording centers aren't in use, maybe you could schedule a time where some of these bands could perform here. People can come see bands perform here. And also I want tours of the facility to be done as well. And I want the main inside the horseshoe to be open to the public, almost like a park. So there has to be some kind of restriction on that. I think it needs to be open to the public during these hours, and there's security there, and people can come in and they could have lunch here or whatever. Just take in the view, get inspired themselves. But inside of the horseshoe, I want it to be like a living facility, okay? I'm probably doing such a bad job of describing this, but I'm trying my best. I have this perfectly visualized in my mind. It's so hard to articulate it, though, but I want these artists to be able to live here if they want, and I will be living here full time. This will be my home. So there will be lodging in the horseshoe. There will be restaurants in the horseshoe, a gym, a library, a bunch of stuff that would just make it comfortable to live there and inspire new creative ideas. Maybe there will be multiple floors. So on the first floor could be the restaurants where the public could access that, but then there's exclusive access to the other floors where I would live, things like that on the next floors. And obviously having this place open to the public during certain hours of the day and having so many high profile people here, I would want to make safety a main priority, especially if I'm living there too, obviously. So there would be a lot of security gates. You can't only access certain areas with like a card or something. This is something that I thought a lot about, but I think until I would actually build this thing, I wouldn't be able to flesh out the idea completely, because if it were actually happening, I would go way, way deep into making sure it is secure and safe as hell. So, at the end of the day, lots of security, lots of cameras, fully gated, security team 24/7, things like that. But yeah, I want to provide tours of the facility too. So you can buy a ticket and you can go experience the courtyard, the overlook, like the just being inside of that courtyard and seeing all of the beautiful stuff, the beautiful view. You could have lunch there. You could view a display, one of the pods. It wouldn't be one that's actually in use, but you could walk in and kind of see what it looks like inside of one as an example, to see the pod that these big artists get to record in. And if this was a success, making the documentary, making all of these albums, man, and I didn't even think about this. In order to get some kind of return, I don't know how much recording studios, like what percentage they take from album sales, but I would obviously give all the artists the best offer they've had of any recording company, but I would still need a portion of that, I think, to make the return. But who knows? Actually, maybe I would run the numbers, and if this documentary were slated to perform well enough, dude, just have them keep all of the money from the album, or as much as Spotify or whatever lets them keep. They take a shit ton, but let them keep all that money, and then I'll just keep the money from the documentary after I make it. I feel like it's a pretty fair deal. Because I feel like, dude, depending on how the types of high profile people I could get, the return on the documentary itself would be insane. If I did a documentary for each album that these artists made, maybe that could be more money, or just one grand documentary about all of these different artists. Imagine a Harry Styles documentary on one of his albums. You could put that in a theater and people would go see it and it would perform well. Imagine if there were 20 artists, 20 Harry Styles level artists in one documentary. That would be groundbreaking. Like, what? Okay, Taylor Swift documentary, Harry Styles documentary. Not to say that they would even need to be with a program like this, because they could pretty much do their own thing already, but you know what I mean. So who knows? Anyway, but if this was a success, and I perceive this as, this is something that could expand bigger, gains enough traction and notoriety that it becomes a bigger thing. I would expand and integrate these recording studios on a smaller scale across the country. So it wouldn't be this big horseshoe-shaped facility anymore. There still would be the main hub in some really beautiful scenic spot in California. But and I say California because I feel like that's where I would have the easiest access to a lot of really big name musicians. That's the only reason I chose California. But I would integrate it on a smaller scale in major cities across the country. So couldn't do the huge horseshoe everywhere. I think for the smaller scale ones, it would be like a donut shape. So a donut shape with pods coming off the end. Or, you know what? It doesn't even have to be that. Maybe eventually it could get to that, to kind of have some sort of marketing. So when somebody sees the building, they know, oh, immediately that is one. I don't even have a name for this company, but yeah, that is the recording studio. Look, you can tell it's got the pods and it's donut shaped. Like, it would be, the building would stand out. But initially, who knows? In big cities like New York, you don't have a lot of space to build a building like that, and it would be incredibly expensive to do that. So maybe that could come later. But I would integrate on a smaller scale these recording studios in other major cities like Los Angeles, New York, Nashville, Charlotte, Houston, New Orleans, Atlanta, Chicago, San Francisco, Portland, and more. Those are just the main ones I would want to do it at. Because I was just thinking of the different types of music that would be produced in these areas. Because in Atlanta, imagine the music you would get coming into those recording studios versus the music you'd be getting in San Francisco or Portland. It would be that would be interesting in itself. The genres of music you'd be getting from these two different cities, from just the general public or bigger artists that would want to come in. They all have their own different music scenes that would be so interesting to tap in on. But anyway, I would want a circular building, if I could eventually, where the building is sectioned into pods, maybe not jutting out like the main one, but the building is sectioned into pods. Low cost, access to high quality equipment. There's no limitations and it's open to anybody. So you could do any type of music that you want to do here. You could do rap, you could do folk, you could do country. I mean, like I was saying, imagine the music in Tennessee. Like, you get Tennessee country music, and then you go to Atlanta, you get the Atlanta scene. And then you go over to Los Angeles, you get the diverse Los Angeles scene. Dude, there's just the crazy levels of music creation you would get. Because, okay, this is my main idea. This is my main thought with this. There are so many people who don't have access to creating music or highly produced music, and it sucks, because there are so many people that just they make great music and they will never be heard or acknowledged because they can't record it, they don't know how to record it, they don't have the money to buy recording equipment. And this is to help mitigate that. This is to help. There could be legendary artists out there that will never be discovered just because they don't have access to a facility like this. So I'm hoping to bring out of the backwoods of Montana the greatest musician the world has ever heard. I'm hoping that happens, and through doing this. So you can record any music you want. There are no limitations. I would want a bunch of locations, and eventually I would like to have these locations be 24/7, especially the ones in major cities, possibly. Because I feel like those would get a lot of people coming through to record. Insane amounts of people coming to record, especially in the major cities. So I'd want to have it open 24/7 to hopefully get through that immense number of people looking to record music as quickly as possible. So, I mean, also, you might have a spontaneous late night idea and just be like, okay, I have to record this right now. And then you go in and record at like 4 a.m. That might be the only time some people have to record, is at 4 a.m. So, additionally, you can schedule a recording session or pay up front, I would like to have it so open access that you could just walk up to the front desk and be like, yeah, I have something I want to record really quick for 30 minutes. You pay for it right, you swipe your card right then, you go in, record it for 30 minutes, and you're done. You could do that, or you could schedule, okay, I'm going to come in Wednesday at 5 for a couple hours, pay for it on my next point, the app for this. So I would want an app that shows the availability of the studio, so you could reserve on the app same day, or just like looking on the app, you could see, okay, there's this studio and this studio are open right now. Nobody has that taken, so I'm going to go ahead and reserve this and then show up at 5 and I'll be able to get access to it. Something like that. So just so people don't waste their time driving up and then they're like, oh yeah, this place is fully booked and full all day, all week, So security at all of these locations as well, because I'd want to prioritize safety, especially if they were operating late at night. I feel like people would try to steal some of this equipment in certain areas because I want it to be like top of the line equipment that anyone has access to. And unfortunately, people would want to take advantage of that and steal this pretty expensive equipment. So I'd need security there, and safety, especially if it's operating late at night. I would want to pay really well for audio engineers who want to work at these locations. So I would hire fresh out of college students to come and learn and create music. So audio engineers across the country, I would want them to come work for me. Very experienced ones or brand new audio engineers. I know it could be hard to find an audio engineer job. Hopefully this would mitigate that. Because I think, including myself, I was discouraged from becoming an audio engineer because I just don't see... I feel like that is a hard job to get, right? And unless you're really good and have something to show for yourself, like way above and beyond, who knows how well you're going to do. I don't know. So that's just how I felt. And I would want more kids who are inspired to become audio engineers to be like, okay, I could easily get a job at one of these locations. There are so many locations across the country in major cities and otherwise that I could totally become an audio engineer and work here and gain a bunch of experience working with people of the community, right? So, let's see. I mean, I think that is kind of just the outline basis of this whole idea. Open access to people, and it's so cheap that people even of low income can do this. And maybe there's something we can work out for like extremely low income people as well. Because I wouldn't want money to be any kind of barrier, but obviously we would need money to keep these operational. Maybe there's some sort of nonprofit idea we could put into this as well, so that you could donate money in order to keep the lights on in these places. Or who knows, like maybe they would be sustainable based off of how much income is coming from people in these big cities frequenting these. Because dude, I feel like I just feel like there's so much music to be made out there that these would have no trouble having people booked and in these locations in major cities constantly. There are so many high school kids who just want equipment to record their stuff at that, dude, they could, and I feel like high school kids could totally afford this. I don't have a price set in mind just yet, but yeah, I think it would. Oh man, I just feel like this could be the beginning of a musical renaissance and an emergence of fantastic new musicians who would otherwise never be discovered, right? There's so many people out there with so much talent, but they never get the time of day. And that is so disappointing to me. Such a missed opportunity. I would hope that this would help bring those talented people to the forefront. Oh, man. And I'm never going to win the lottery, so this is never going to happen. But, God, I wish it would happen. And, maybe getting this idea out there will help inspire somebody to do this idea, because I'd love to start this, but I just don't even know. I don't even know how to do it. Maybe eventually I could start off with my own recording studio, because like I said, in a city, I feel like if you make it affordable, you would have no trouble getting people to come in and record stuff. There's so much music to be made out there. So maybe this is like the beginning of a future idea to invest in my own recording studio and then expand that to major cities. Maybe make this dream come to life in a different kind of way. But, I viewed this as starting my own hub, using this thing with like big celebrities in the documentary to gain traction in marketing, so that when I integrate these small recording studios into major cities, people will already know that they're coming and what I am and what we are and what we're about. So when they are built in these big cities, they will immediately get a bunch of traffic and then be able to generate money to keep themselves sustainable and grow and move to more cities. How cool would that be, dude? How cool would that be? So I don't even know if I would have enough money for that. $1 billion is a lot of money, but I'm talking about a big facility, getting a bunch of people sustaining a bunch of people to live here on that big horseshoe. It would be very expensive, but $1 billion. Dude, could probably do it. Okay, so additionally, that was my main idea, but I'd also want to find directors and filmmakers that inspire me, big or small, and tell them, do whatever you want. Kind of similar to the music idea. Just say, do you have a project that you've wanted to do forever that nobody will pick up? Make it outrageous, go crazy. I will fund it. Make your movie. Just make it. Like, I feel like they're so limited by production companies and big companies are like, oh, we get that you're a big musician, but we don't like this idea. Come back with something else. No, with me, dude, do whatever you want. Write whatever you want. Make it the craziest shit ever. Do the weirdest idea you've ever had. I want to make it. I want to help you make it. Art installations. I want to put art installations in small cities across the United States, especially like in Thomasville, North Carolina. Maybe beyond eventually. So this was kind of inspired by in Thomasville. Thomasville in its heyday was the furniture capital of the world. Okay. Now this city is like a ghost town. But at one point, literally the furniture capital of the world, like 100 years ago, back when the United States was big on textiles. And now it's nothing. It's like, dude, a documentary could be made on the rise and fall of Thomasville. And it would be so interesting to see. Because this place, they still make a ton of furniture. And in High Point, North Carolina, there's the furniture market that still goes on. People from all over the world will come twice a year to the furniture market. So there's still a lot of furniture stuff that goes on here. But, dude, I want to put more life into Thomasville. And, okay, mentioning the furniture thing, the reason I mentioned that was because Hold on a second. Okay, never mind. Don't hold on a second. The reason I mention that is because a big draw to Thomasville is it's called the Big Chair. I think it is. I don't know if it's the biggest chair in the world, but it's got to be close. It's this ginormous chair, and it's a big attraction in Thomasville, right? It's like one of the staple things in Thomasville, the Big Chair. And I just thought, okay, that was honestly probably pretty easy to build, and just setting it up in the city draws in a lot of people who come to view it and in turn bring money into the city and help the economy of the city. What if I just set up other art, like huge art installations in small cities across the country, and it becomes like a Tyler Spencer thing where you visit these art installations in the middle of nowhere cities, and they're really interesting and really cool and things that have just never been done before. Like, for instance, every time I see a water tower, I think it looks like a jellyfish, right? So I'm not saying this would be an idea I have, but this is just like an example of something that could be. But just making, like, going all out and making this like a big water tower that's very visible from across a city look like a jellyfish, like a real life jellyfish, and maybe have some kind of movement built into it. Something like that. Or like build a giant like monster type thing that is like hyper realistic climbing on a water tower or like standing on top of it. And it's just something you see for miles, and it's something that you could visit the city to see, and it brings in maybe not a ton of people, but it'll still bring in people. I feel like that would be really cool to do and integrate into cities across the country, or small towns, I should say. But at the end of the day, I would want to, as you can see, just do a lot of stuff with music, go on tour, help other people create good music, and I would also fund my own albums. I would create albums like crazy, I think. Or I would try to. It's hard to say. If I had to choose between creating my own music and helping others create their own music by pouring all of my time into these recording studio things, I would choose to pour my time into these recording studio things and help other people create their own music instead. I think that would be better overall than me funding my own stuff. But who knows? Maybe there's a happy medium in there somewhere. Okay, well, I don't know why that was so stressful for me to get through. I guess like I'm really passionate about this idea, so even though I know it's never going to happen, it's still nice to think about. And it's, I hope this was interesting to you. There's a lot of other minor details that I didn't really fully get into, but this idea will never happen anyway. Even as much as I would like for it to, I will never win the lottery. This will never happen. But I think there's some value in saying what I would do if I won the lottery, and just maybe it kind of is almost like a lens magnifying what my true dreams and aspirations are. So I think there's value in that. And I'm going to end it there for today. Okay, my battery just died, so I'm going to end it there for today. Thanks, guys, for watching. I'll catch you in the next one. This has been Wiretap. Hold on, I got to do the... How am I going to... Hold on. I got to do the hands thing I do, and then I'm holding the mic. Okay. This has been Wiretap. Thank you guys for watching. Wiretap. Or, no. Music. Forever. Art. Forever. Wiretap. Forever. See you guys. Bye. Bye.